Operation Confidence proudly presents America's Invisible Heroes radio talk show. Tune in weekly on Sundays, 2 to 3 p.m. Pacific time with your hosts, Consuelo Mackey, U.S. Army veteran and co-host Matt Davison, announcer Taylor Marcella, and Brooke Gadesi, U.S. Army veteran and entertainment segment host Charles Whitehead, Veterans and Legal segment host, attorney Danielle Sherrod, U.S. Army Veterans and Lifeline for Women Veterans segment host Martha Elena Varela, Veterans in Recovery host Anthony Akinpora, and U.S. Air Force veteran and Incarceration to Success segment host Kevin Lewandowski. For more information or to be a guest on our show, email info@operationconfidence.org.
Okay, well, welcome everyone, and thank you for tuning in to America's Invisible Heroes, a show dedicated to our veterans and their families. Yes, I'm your host, Consuelo Mackey, Executive Director of a grassroots nonprofit organization called Operation Confidence. No, I'm not a veteran, but my heart goes out to our American heroes, especially those who are disabled and have experienced homelessness. For those who are new to the show, American Invisible Heroes was established to provide a platform for our veterans to be able to share their experiences, heartfelt stories, resources, and challenges. I'd like to now introduce you to our wonderful co-hosts. But by the way, Matt Davison, Brooke Gadasky, and Taylor Morella is not here today, but they'll be back next week. And we want to have right now on our show, which is our wonderful, wonderful board member and co-host, Charles Whitehead, U.S. Army veteran, Martha Varela. I don't know why I'm tongue-tied. She's on our advisory board, and she has a weekly segment called Lifeline for Women Veterans. We have Chaplain Wendy Children. She has a bi-monthly segment called Living Life Completely. And Montague, also a bi-weekly segment host called the Rosie's Movement. And we have back again, she's have also with a bi-monthly segment, Dr. Kathy Cash, and she is also a U.S. veteran. U.S. Army veteran. Thank you and welcome to the show, everyone. And by the way, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
All right, it's on you, Martha.
Okay, Connie, thank you. When women veterans become homeless, how ready is your state to meet their needs? Sure, the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs is the agency thought of as primarily being responsible to help veterans with housing when they become homeless, but the VA also works through community providers as well, often on a reimbursement basis. So first, your community has to have the facilities available to house women veterans who frequently have different needs than their male veteran counterparts. Because of the likelihood of trauma or history of military sexual trauma, or the status as single mothers who have dependent children, women veterans are very unlikely to want to sleep outside, stay in shelters, or stay in co-ed facilities, which many women will tell you they don't always feel safe bringing their children to. It's also not a given that all veterans participate in VA services or VA programs. Many are unaware they are eligible for services. Many do not know that they are, eligible to receive the services, know where to get them. And as hard as this may be to believe, years ago, women veterans were sometimes affirmatively told that they were not veterans or not eligible for services, resulting in a gap that might be as long as decades before they realized that this was a gap that might have been happening for decades before veterans realized that they could go to the VA for healthcare and housing and other benefits. A few years ago, when I started delving into this issue, I came across a list of the VA's grant per diem programs in each state. I ended up mapping it against the number of women veterans in each state, only to realize how poorly most states seem to have been prepared when it comes to helping homeless veterans, with or without their children. This is especially true that I have also found out to be in the rural areas or in smaller states that just don't have the financial capacity to help with a broad array of services for homeless veterans and their families. Then, as we know, Texas, Florida, California, Virginia, and Georgia are some of the top 5 or some of the top states by population for women veterans. Virginia and Georgia also make the top 5 list for women veterans as a percentage of all the veterans in their states too. But 4 of the 5 key states seem to have very limited capacity to serve women veterans. Only California seems like it's making a solid effort. Another barrier for women veterans who are at risk for experiencing homelessness, or another barrier for women that are at risk for experiencing homelessness, is their low visibility as homeless veterans. When America thinks of its warriors, unfortunately, it often defaults to thinking of Hollywood portrayals or this lack of recognition that happens when we're talking about women veterans. And it's not just when they become homeless. So when we think about it, for years, Americans who've had to picture in their head, what does a homeless veteran look like? One image comes to mind, right? The scruffy, older, white male, often Vietnam veteran, frequently comes to mind, right? Someone who's seen on the corner, handing up a sign, asking for help, someone who sleeps outdoors, or someone who presents mental health or substance abuse issues. While that picture may be accurate for one demographic of people, there are some problems with that. It continues to emphasize the most visible type of the homeless, the chronically homeless, the long-term homeless, which is only, again, one picture of the scale of homelessness. And again, this also excludes women veterans from the picture, including women veterans who have children. So to be a homeless veteran does not mean you have to be alone. Part of the new face of veteran homelessness these days is to be a single mother with dependent children in tow. And we also have heard, also on this same subject about the working poor, right? People who live in their cars, people who go to work and have jobs and have come up with other ways to mask being homeless. And so we got to challenge ourselves to think outside that one mental picture that we usually have about who is the face of homeless. So well-deserved kudos go to CBS's television crime drama NCIS, whose episode One Step Forward in 2018 served as the first accurate portrayal of a woman veteran who was homeless on network television. And she was a single mother. For years, relying on the very likely to be inaccurate federal guesstimate of how many women veterans are currently homeless has created the impression that very few are, even though that's quite unlikely to be the case. Recently, using the VA's own calculation to re-estimate the size of this population has come up with an alternative set of numbers that is much more likely to convey a closer to accurate estimate. You might want to start with how many women veterans there are in your state, how many are living in poverty, and how many are likely to be homeless right now. At the low end and the high end of those ranges, as computed by the VA and also the non-VA's estimates, rely more heavily on the poverty data for women in each state. Another factor that I think is also makes it difficult to sort of calculate this accurate number that we're looking to kind of create is the fact that women veterans often disappear. So when we're living in a world that we're not recognized as veterans, we're not appreciated for our service, and therefore kind of taking ourselves out of any programs, any communities, any services, we go into hiding. And so I when I worked with the National Veterans Foundation for the last couple of years, I'm now recently with the LA Family Housing, and I work with homeless families in the San Fernando Valley. My experience with the National Veterans Foundation really helped me get a bigger this veteran population looked and it felt like. A lot of women, as we heard earlier, don't even reach out. So when they do finally reach out, when it's, super crisis or, things are really, really desperate, they will come out of hiding to ask for help. And I've also noticed that if your state or your program, your agency doesn't have the emergency resources to help them when they do come to ask for help. If and when they come ask for help, then you will lose them just as quickly, because for many, there's crisis intervention that needs to happen right from the beginning, some mental health counseling, or services, social work services. And so you got to be prepared to kind of have that array of services that they need when they need it. And again, each woman is different. If she's got children and she needs rental assistance, she may have arrears that she needs help paying. There might be some utility bills that are facing disconnection. So you really have to be prepared to have, the resources at your disposal, because if you've got to send a veteran over here to this agency in this community to get this voucher, you'll risk losing them. And same with male veterans, because these services in the community sometimes don't work as fast as the veterans we need them to. So it can be very, very difficult. I know the work for me has been very heartbreaking, but it's also the reason why I've committed myself to doing this work, working with Operation Confidence to help, find and locate these women veterans that need help, also male veterans, and really help connect them to the resources, and then advocate for them during the process, so that if it takes 6 to 12 months on average for a successful VASH voucher to come down the pipe, they're going to need that support. They're going to need that ear to listen and other financial resources along the way to help get them to that end housing voucher or that housing placement. So
Martha,
it's really,
do you have any contact information, how to get in touch with you, since you have a wealth of information?
Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, each state has a list. So when you go to www.va.gov, you can type in, so for example, the SSVF program, the Supportive Services for Veterans and Families, helps with things like rent. If you're behind in arrears, if you need some help paying your rent and or utilities, that's a national program that's all veterans are eligible for. And so when you go to the VA's website, you can type in, SSVF grantees or programs. So it'll pop up a map where you can see where all of the resources are state by state. As I mentioned before, the VA isn't always the fastest way in. In some states it is, in some states it's not. Again, that depends on how big or small your state is, how rural or urban, location you're located in, where if there's, may only be one VA in, the other part of the state. So sometimes in those instances, the community resources are the fastest and easiest ways to connect with. So the Goodwills, the Salvation Armies, all of those Volunteers of America. For us here in California, we have a lot more of those veteran resources at our disposal. So we have PATH, we've got, other organizations that are helping LASA. So it just depends on what state you go to, but going to the VA's website is the best way to locate where those states are, because the VA has the listing. And so again, you can kind of tap in on the va.gov website, look up, the programs, and then also with the HUD VASH vouchers. So for any veterans that are
facing, email address as well.
Okay, sure. And then my email address is Martha at operationconfidence.org, Martha, Martha at operationconfidence.org. So if you ever want to ask any more specific questions, or you've got female veterans or male veterans that you want to offer or help connect them to services, we are also able to help connect them as well.
Great
I have a
information,
question
Martha.
for you. I have a question for you, Martha. So given that we know that the majority of veterans are males, so I would assume that the majority of people working in these offices are males, and we know that women tend to have because this whole process can tend to be intimidating,
Mhm.
so I don't know what the percentage
Yeah.
is where
So
you
the
work.
kind of protocol. Yeah. So one angle that I used to take, and it's, and that would be one of the things we would ask in the intake, right? We want to know, is the veteran suffering from PTSD? Has there been some MST in their history of service? So that opens up another route. So again, going to the va.gov's website, you can pull up in the search bar, type in MST coordinators. So that's the front line to the social worker who deals specifically with the MST as the door in. So then you get a woman. There are males, strangely, that work in that field. I've seen on the listing, and it's state by state. So depending upon where the veteran could be calling from, it'll connect you to the MST counselors, the VAs, employees that work with the MST. So inside, once you call, make an appointment, they will also help you with the other basic needs. So if you need housing, you need food, any kind of programs that will help, financial programs that'll help, then they connect you from the inside. So
That's
you
great.
can pick and choose. Yeah,
Good
because that's another barrier, like Charles is mentioning,
Right.
that will keep a woman from even accessing the resources or the help. They would just rather not deal with that part to get to any of the resource stuff. And so that is something, because we heard from the recent survey, or the recent research from California out of the community colleges. That was one of the things that the veterans at their vet center were saying. Well, we need more females, and we need more females in the community delivering these programs, so that I feel even comfortable enough to go. And that's where I think for Operation Confidence, we do have, female leadership, which is great. And, it's what women want and need if they're going to, we're going to be able to support them, organically, and then also, completely around, because when there's one issue, there's other issues. And so, we need to be as prepared as we can be to help us address as many issues as we can, or connect them to services and see through it that, the services are actually provided. Because again, that process can be long, it's intimidating, it's daunting. And if you're already dealing with issues A, B, and C, it's safe to assume that they could use the extra support to help get them through. So
that's great information. We got to move on, but I sure thank you for that.
Thank you, Connie.
All right, love. Thank you. And we're going to now go ahead and have you introduce Chaplain Wendy Childress.
Okay, so when Chaplain Wendy Childress, as we heard, is a retired Army chaplain. She served as an educator for over 7 years, having worked with various community organizations. She's earned her BA in psychology from Cleveland State University, her Master's of Arts in Theology from Fuller Theological Seminary, and is currently completing her DM, her Doctor of Ministry degree. Chaplain Childress is a life coach who resides in Southern California and is a proud mother of one beautiful, artistic, and creative adult daughter, and together they enjoy traveling. Welcome, Wendy, and you can take it away from here.
Thank you very much. One quick correction. Earned my doctorate.
We can't hear you.
I said I earned one quick correction is I earned my doctorate degree already.
You go, girl.
Oh, congratulations.
Recently?
Yeah, that was in May. That's why you see doctor up there.
Doctor.
So, yes.
Get on, girlfriend. Love it. There's so much static, we can't hardly hear you.
No, she's in a crowded place.
Okay.
Yes. Oh, she had to stop at a restaurant. That's right.
Yeah, I had to
get on time. Had to be on time.
That's all right. Go ahead, do your thing. We'll,
Go ahead, Doc.
Okay. All right. Can you all hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay. Well, I want to open with prayer, if you will allow me to do that.
Oh, please do.
Yes.
All right, dear Heavenly Father, we come before you just thanking you for this day, Lord. We give you all the honor and the glory and the praise because you alone are worthy. Father, we thank you for bringing us into this new year because so many did not make this year. We're looking forward to all your blessings and your anointings and finding our purpose and our footing in this year so that we can best serve you. And we ask that you watch over the homeless and our veterans and the needy and those that are sick and ailing. In the mighty name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
All right. And my guest is Deborah Woodley, and I'll give you a little bit of her background. Deborah served 22 years in the U.S. Army. She's been married for over 40 years and the mother of 2 adult children. She's earned her degree in psychology, and she's served in the capacities of a Washington State registered counselor and a parenting instructor from a Christian perspective. Among many things, she's an author and educational advocate for online learning. school teacher, and serves as the president of a military support group named In Touch We Care Association. Deborah is currently, I like this, one of the best homemakers the world has yet to know. And she is this woman because she is the woman she is today because of the strong women of God that she encamps around her as iron sharpens iron. Currently, she volunteers in the community, living healthy, supports family and friends, and travels the world with her retiree buddies. Hi, Deborah. How are you?
You muted, Deborah.
I am muted. Okay. Hello, everyone.
Hi,
How
Deborah.
are you?
Hello. Hello.
Okay. So you want to tell us a little bit about your military background, your career?
Well, my military background, in those 22 years, I ended up in United Nations Command in Seoul, Korea. That's where I retired
Oh, wow.
complete those 22 years. And I met my husband in the military when I first joined at 17. And we were together the whole entire time, the whole 21 years we were stationed together, except when we went to school, of course. You know, we were stationed together and have 2 kids. And yeah.
Nice.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, that was a blessing to be stationed. So let me ask you this. Transitioning from, so you went in at 17, so you went in early. So military was basically all you knew. So how was that transition from military to civilian?
Oh, thank you for asking. You know, when I retired in 2000, the transition was a little difficult because my mind was very fast, faster than my body. I couldn't cut off. Right before I retired, I had a baby. I lost my mom, then I retired all within about 15 months time frame. So retirement was very difficult. I thought the world was so slow. And it took me a while to adjust to that. Everything seemed slow. But when I started volunteering, kind of took my mind off Deborah and started volunteering in the community, I started realizing there's a need out there and people are, you know, kind of lost in their sense of who they are. So I just got into the women's ministry. You know, I started volunteering at the chapel, in the community, and that kind of kept me going because I took my mind off my problems.
Okay, and that's one way of self-care, and that's one way of healing. I have to add that is when we focus on other people. But interesting enough, I also know that you are an author, and you wrote a book. And is that book in part to help? Was that in part to help with your transition as you transition from military to civilian? Can you tell us more about your book?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Because yes, ma'am. Every time I talked to someone, I had so much to share. So I had to put it in a book. And the name of the book is The Difference It Makes Having Christ in My Life and Your Life. And it is available on Amazon and Barnes and Nobles. Although I am not able to sell it personally because of my military status of unemployability, I do act in a capacity every day of my life, sharing my story to anyone who will listen and encouraging people, because people are hurting. They need to know no matter where they are, there is answers in the Word of God. There is answers in connecting with the right people that can help you focus on moving forward. Yeah.
And so now I read off some of the things that you are doing now. So what is life like? What is a living life well like for you now?
Right now, I love it. I think I'm living my best life now because I get to travel. I get to volunteer with this awesome organization called In Touch We Care. It's 27 years old. And what we do is a local retirement support group, and it's mainly seniors. And we keep them connected to the retirement services on base. You know, if any changes, we have picnics with them. You know, they get sick, we look after them. You know, we do it as a group.
Okay,
we cook for
and let
them.
me ask,
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. What
No, that's
area is this? What area is this program in that you're
Oh,
president? You're
thank
the
you for asking.
president of this organization, right?
Currently, I'm in two parts of In Touch We Care. In Touch We Care members is where we reach out to each other personally, and it's here in Tacoma, Washington. And we also have a nonprofit side of the In Touch We Care, and it's called the intouchwecare.org. And we reach out to homeless veterans. That's why I will connect with you, Martha, soon. I have to connect with you to get some
Great.
information and
Yes,
and some guidance from you, because we are reaching out to the homeless and the widows, and we have everything set up, but we're just having a little difficulty getting it into play, getting finances in to where we can be the middleman, then get those resources out in the community. So that's two sets of outreaches that I am actively a part of. And I'm the president of the member side, but we reach out to the individuals on a personal level, but we have a very broad outreach as well. So I will make that connection with you soon. Hi.
Okay, well, that's wonderful.
And what
Great work
area
you're
is
doing.
this in? You didn't tell us what area you have this program in.
Oh, thank you. The area is in Tacoma, Washington, Washington State. In the Northwest area, the Evergreen State.
All right, well, we're so happy to hear
Thank
from you,
you.
what you're doing.
Absolutely. It's
some
awesome to be a part of this program today.
And we want you to come
Thank
back
you.
because you had an exciting career.
Absolutely.
22.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you for your service.
Thank
For
you.
sure.
Absolutely.
Well,
Thank
we
you,
in,
Lord.
I'm sorry, you were in the Army?
I was in the Army. Absolutely.
Right,
My
right.
husband did 26 years and I did 22.
Well, you have to bring him back on so we can hear some of his stories, and you have to share your military stories as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that would be
Absolutely.
great.
So you guys went in together.
No,
and
we did not. I was
Oh.
17 when I went in. We met at Fort Bragg. He was already in for 2 years.
He was in. So then, if
I
he
was
did
17.
20, if he did 26 years and you did 22, that's 4 years. If he was already in 2 years, so he stayed in for another 2 after you got
Yes,
out.
he did. He stayed in the military for another 2 years because I retired first.
Okay.
Right.
Oh, that's great. And you have 2 children, huh?
Yes, 135, and she's getting married in September. She
Ooh.
waited. And so I have a son who is 23. He just completed University of Washington. He graduated as criminal justice and psychology. And now he's working on another minor because VA giving him 7 more months of the entitlement on my VA Chapter 35. So he's doing a minor in law office.
Oh, I know you're proud of
It's
yourself.
amazing.
Very proud, very proud, very grateful.
Oh, that is
And I'd
so
just like to
wonderful.
point out one more thing, Connie, before we end this interview. Deborah is an advocate prior to online learning being even in the mainstream. She was an advocate for it because she homeschooled her child. Deborah, can you tell us a little about that before we end?
Absolutely, absolutely. In the early 2000s, I became an advocate for education because my son was diagnosed with ADHD. So he was having problems in 2nd grade in a private school. So I tried to put him in a public school. I took him out like within a month because I knew I had to take control of his education. So I kind of connected with the state of Washington. So I became one of the pioneers to advocate for more funding for online learning so kids can learn at their level. So I homeschooled our son from 3rd grade through 8th grade. And then he went to high school and then went to college from there. But there was a lot of commitment and persistence to make sure that he was able to be educated and not experience a lot of biases and bullying.
Right.
And so I was able to cater an education system for him, Pacific, change his diet because of ADHD diagnosis, change his lifestyle. He was in Boy Scouts of America for 13 years.
Wow.
So we started in 1st grade and he didn't finish till he got to college. So 9 years of training on land, and he has 4 additional years training in Sea Scouts. So he's the first African-American in the state of Washington to be an Eagle Scout and a quartermaster. So we
Whoa.
really that was my outlet. It's like I didn't know what to do with him when I had him so old, right before I joined the military. So I said, Lord, what am I going to do with him? He said, put him in the Boy Scout. So, I just been enjoying the life of scouting and camping. And then I started back camping that he started college. So very grateful.
That is
very
so
grateful,
cool.
guys.
Congratulations.
Nice.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So wonderful.
And you did all of that while you were in the military.
Well, in the military,
that
I was a
part.
Girl Scout leader for 8 years in the military.
Right. That's,
My
I
daughter,
mean, the homeschooling and, you know,
no,
and,
no, I had it retired. See, I retired.
oh, okay,
I
okay.
started homeschooling like maybe 2006 or 7 to
Okay.
yeah, for 7 years, 8 years, 6 years, something like that.
Right,
Well,
right.
you don't look like a person that's got a 35-year-old, that's for sure.
Oh, I wear, I get better with age.
Oh,
Well, the word of God restores your youth. That's the actual truth. So
That's
all
true.
right. I
That's
believe
that's
that.
the truth. Yeah.
Wow, I'm
Amen
so
to that.
proud of you. And I'm a proud mama too. I got some amazing sons too. So
Oh, fantastic.
it's nothing like some phenomenal kids. I had a
Yeah.
kid that was ADHD as well, and he's now a financial genius. He has us all with credit scores over 800. So you
Woo.
can't always say that just because they start out that way, that's where they're gonna stay. They're really brilliant kids. They're just being, they're not exploring their whole potential. But
Right.
congratulations. I
Thank
really,
Thank you so kindly.
and you got to come back. You have to come back.
Man.
Oh, I want to be a
Mhm.
part. So you guys help me do that and help me to grow.
Yay.
So I'm looking forward to it.
And Deborah, there may be a way, Connie, too, that we can bring Deborah to the table to help us when we look for the
Right.
educational development part, right? So when we
Right.
get our housing program up and running, we want to offer, and you might be able to help give us some insight as to how to, on a state level, formulate those contracts to say we need some of that funding to help. And this could be veterans who need, want to change fields and go into, new careers, or, just need some basic brush up on, the basics. So we
Right.
would
got
love
to
to
have her on
connect
our
with you
combo
on that as well.
and the
Absolutely.
combat
Yeah.
boots and lace team as well. We got to have her on that as well.
Yeah.
So we got stuff that
The
you got to
women
do,
support
girl.
group. Yes.
Absolutely. We can help each other.
There you go.
So did we give did she have any info that people can reach you? Or?
Yeah, how
Oh,
is
absolutely. Thank you for asking. My email is woodleydeb@comcast.net. So
you
that's
have to say that slow.
Thank you. Woodley is WOODLEYDEB @comcast.net.
Great. Okay, that's wonderful.
Can I ask a question, Deb?
Yes, ma'am.
What do you want to do next?
Well, right now I'm just traveling the world, seriously, really. I was in Venus about 2 weeks before the flood in 2019. And I think it was November timeframe. Then the flood came, then COVID came. So what I'm doing now, I love to support veterans. I love to travel with my retiree buddies. Trying to get my husband to retire. He turned 65 in January. So he told me in 2 years, and I want to travel out with him in RV. But I do volunteer concerning veterans. I love helping veterans. But I don't get, I have a lot of opportunities here, but I won't lock my time in. I like to be free and say, okay, I can do this program and boom, we'll come back for the next program. But to lock my time in is a little difficult.
Chaplain, that's what she's doing next.
What's that?
Well, that's wonderful.
And I have to jump in to say this too. And knowing how to set healthy boundaries is a part of self-care. So I like what you just said. You won't lock yourself in because we can get overburdened by trying to do everything and burn ourselves out. So love your smile, love your energy, and God bless you.
Keep up the good work,
Thank
girlfriend.
you so very much.
And
Thank
welcome. Come back again.
you. Absolutely. I'm
Thank
hanging around.
you. All right.
Stella, can I introduce Bill Bonnet, he's been listening here for a few minutes.
Well, you're going to have your segment on and you can introduce him then, okay?
Now, she wants to do her segment now, which is, and
It
then
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I just want Bill to know we're recognizing that
Yeah, well, you'll be able to recognize him.
Okay.
He's next. Yeah, we're next. We're next, Dan.
Yeah,
Okay.
because actually we want to let Dr. Cash come on at this point, Charles, and you'll
Okay.
introduce. Uh,
All right. Well, let me introduce Dr. Kathy Cash. She's a U.S. Army veteran and a peer support specialist, a founder of the and CEO of Strategies for Hope. Her guest today is Lenora. Okay, let me make sure Let me see if I can get this right. Lenora Lepisardi Smith. Lepisard Smith, who will speak on advocacy and the veteran caregiver. Lenora is the wife of a U.S. veteran who serves as his caregiver and the advocate for all husbands VA care. She will be sharing her personal experiences and challenges with advocating for her husband. Take it away, Dr. Cash.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and Happy New Year again. This has been a great conversation so far, and it just seems that all of this has come together.
right.
As Deborah spoke about earlier, just God is all in this, because
Yes,
today
he
we're
is.
talking about advocacy. And Martha, what you were speaking of earlier, advocacy is definitely needed when we talk about our women veterans, because if they're homeless, they come back into the system or come into the system, and then they get turned away because people won't listen to them and they don't know that they have a voice. So they need an advocate to be that voice for them. And so that's why I love my guest today, Lenore. She is the wife of Gary C. Smith Jr. He's an Army veteran who served from 1985 to 1989. She's currently a volunteer mediator with the dispute resolution program at the LA City Attorney's Office. She has performed legal volunteering services at the Los Angeles County Bar Association Immigration Rights Clinic during the inception of DACA and at the CES Tenants' Rights Clinic. She is the author of Conquering the Baby Bar, your comprehensive guide to the first-year law student's examination. So I would like to introduce to you and bring forward Miss Lenora. I always can't pronounce her last name either, Smith.
That's what I want to know.
Smith.
How do you say that? You know,
How you pronounce it?
Lapasar.
Lapasar
Okay.
Smith. So Lenora, thank you for being here today. And would you share with us about your experience as an advocate for your husband?
Absolutely. Happy New Year, and thank you, everyone. Basically, advocating for veterans. The VA system is unique in that it's large, it's federal, it's flawed. But there are so many resources if you have the tenacity to keep going after it and really work towards helping your partner or whoever you're caring for navigate the system. Basically, what I like to encourage Gary and the other veterans that I kind of have worked with is to make sure you keep up with your primary care physician. They're going to get you all the referrals you need. Take your pen and your notebook. You really have to go on ahead and ask them to explain everything. When we first started going and Gary was taking care of his health issues, it was such a process. The doctors kind of say, oh, everything looks sort of okay. Everything looks all right. But day to day, when you're dealing with your partner, or you're dealing with people, you see the pain that they're in and you see the other stuff. So you really have to push for those referrals. The VA also offers a ton of really good services like acupuncture, Tai Chi, things that are integrative medicine and that a lot of people don't know that are available. Meditation, nutritionists. There's a ton of stuff out there that can be accessed if you really push for it. I always say make a list, write everything down. That's super important. Get your referrals from your primary care. You have to stay on them. There's that app. That app, the VA app, is great because you can directly write to them. You can say, hey, document everything, put it in writing. That way you get that treatment. Let's see. Also as a caregiver, as a wife, you have to kind of know your boundaries as well. You can, ask, your partner, whatever veteran you're advocating for, or you're advocating for yourself, you can want them to go and take care of this and take care of that, but you really need to listen to the patient as well. You can't just foist everything on them. So a lot about caregiving is communication with the patient, with the doctor. It's a lot of communication. Dr. Cash.
Mhm. What's been your greatest challenge with advocating for your husband?
I'm going to say in the beginning, there was a lot of issues with communication. You know, we call and leave messages, don't get response. So it really is a matter of, and that's the other thing, go on and print out that list of every extension and have it handy, because that does come in handy. We, you know, call his acupuncturist, call the pain management, you know, call the ENT folks. You have to stay on top of that.
And I like what you said about, you know, having that list of numbers, but you also said earlier, writing everything down.
Mhm.
When you go to the doctor, and you're at that point in time, but then
Yes.
you don't see the doctor again for another 3 weeks. So in between, you have to write things down. You have to write how your husband's feeling, whatever's going wrong, whatever's going right, so that when you go to the doctor, you're able to share that information with the doctor.
So I like to call it my scroll. I go ahead and bust out a whole scroll, like, okay, we need to address this, that, and the third, you know, here's the list of medications that he's currently on, you know, and I live in a building with a lot of veterans as well. So it's great. I've gotten to meet up with a lot of them and kind of go help them with some stuff too. And pretty much that scroll is super important, because the doctors don't remember it either. They kind of have a pretty heavy workload.
Right.
Yes.
That makes a lot of
definitely.
sense. Wow.
Yes. What would you tell someone who is looking to advocate for their veteran, be it a husband, a child, a parent? What's one thing that you would really, really enforce to share with them about how to be a good advocate?
I'll refer back to something Martha mentioned earlier, which is that VA website.gov. You kind of start there, kind of look at it, get to know the process, get to know. There's that VA handbook, that resource book, that has come in handy a few times. And really, it is a process. You have to be tenacious. You have to go up there. You have to say, hey, this is what you need to do for this veteran. You know, I have multiple people's last names and last 4 of the social memorized, because it's like, okay, it's for this person, da 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 da. You know, you have to be able to kind of just be able to stay on that phone and make those appointments and keep those.
How do you deal with the proud veteran who says, nothing's wrong with me, I'm okay, I don't need to do this, I don't need to go? How do you deal with that, you know, as a caregiver and also as an advocate?
Absolutely. The thing with that is military instills that discipline. It instills that can-do attitude, that I'm walking around in boots and a heavy backpack. You know, I'm not a veteran, so I'm just saying what I see. You know, the veterans have that where they kind of push back, you know, push down their pain levels, they push back their health issues. And, you know, you kind of have to wear them down. You have to be the drill sergeant for that one.
Martha, you can chime in on that, right?
But yeah, and you know, I think you bring up a good point. I think the other piece about writing it down, because like you said, you're advocating for multiple veterans at a time. And besides, it's hard to remember whose issues are what. But something also magically happens in doing that, but you're empowering the veteran to kind of take control of their situation, right? So, and I always found that it's like a tag team effort. So tomorrow you call, you know, so-and-so, you let them know. So, and then if you don't hear from them by Friday, then text me the information, and me as your advocate, I'm going to call on Friday and speak to so-and-so and then you have to have all those facts, right? Because in order to really successfully get that veteran or get that person, that advocacy to work, you have to have all of those notes, right? All of the facts, all of the dates and the times that the veteran called 6 times in the month of March and never got a phone call, like you said. So thank you for bringing that part up too, because I think that's a big piece of it. And then, you know, on the flip side, as the advocate who can get burned out, right? When we're the one
Yes.
kind of front line against the VA and against, these big agencies or programs that sometimes aren't advocating and providing services to the way that they should be. It's also nice then when you hear the veteran call back and say, oh, I got through to so-and-so finally called me back. And so now what do we do? Right. So it kind of lightens the load too, I think, as advocates that we carry, because it's heavy work. This is heavy work when you're the one kind of, making some people answer questions uncomfortably that they don't want to. And it's unfortunate, but I see that fire you have in your eyes. I wanted to ask if you could talk a little bit about what you do at the law center. And because I was intrigued by that, and I'm sure that social justice piece kind of flows through your blood, if that's already kind of what you're doing, kind of during your day job, your other job, but you're just like working 24 hours a day. So I love you. You're awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. But can you tell us a little bit about what that other part of the work is that you do with the legal stuff and the dispute resolution center?
Sure. I actually graduated in 2017 with my JD, and I went to the People's College of Law, which was all about, social justice and advocacy. And it really is, a school that focuses on pushing, law graduates out there to help. So, it was a natural kind of niche to jump in and, work with these bureaucracies to say, okay, I'm advocating. The dispute resolution program is through the LA City Attorney's Office. And basically people with disputes, we do have veterans who we've mediated for. And, they have a lot of, basically neighbor to neighbor disputes we mediate, business disputes we mediate. And it's actually a really great program. And one of the best parts of the program is the community policing, where community members and police that have issues, we mediate between those two parties so that they can kind of come to an understanding and an agreement, just to make sure that, the police and the community start to, it's a program that's just in LA right now, but, to try and improve relations, and with the veterans, a lot of times with mediation and with the legal work that I do, a lot of it is emotional labor. Like, you really want to listen to them, because a lot of times people just want to be heard. And a lot of veterans are used to being shut down, and they just need to be heard. And so listening is one of the key aspects in every facet of this. For advocacy, you really, really, really just need to listen to what the veteran wants.
Definitely.
What is their ultimate health goal? And then work to reach that together.
Mm-hmm. It is so important. Well, thank you so much. We want to invite you back on again as well. Dr. Cash, make sure Lenore comes back on. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your middle name.
Smith, just Lenore Smith.
Lenore Smith.
Not the sword.
I got the Smith because I'll mess up that. That's middle name.
But it's definitely an honor to have you here.
Oh God, yeah, a wealth of information.
We've talked about advocating for your husband. We've talked about the fact that when we're looking at a veteran coming out of homelessness, that recovery piece, it starts with the hope. And once they've decided that they can do it, that this is what they want to do, there are additional steps that have to take place.
Right.
You have your personal responsibility. What do I need to do? So in this case, the veteran, have to get up and go to the doctor. Then I got to learn about what's going on. And then I have to be empowered to advocate for myself. And then of course there's a support, because as you said, oftentimes it's just sitting down and listening. When you have a veteran who is in the waiting room, they're hollering and screaming, everybody's trying to subdue them and throw them down. But if you just say, okay, let's just talk about this, what's going on?
Right.
And in the world of peer support, we're peer support and advocates for everybody. Whereas you become a caregiver and an advocate for a certain number of people, like, as you're saying, the veterans in your building, your husband. So you're undercover peer support. So honorary peer support, I give that to you, because that's what we do. Again, it just becomes listening and hearing, what does the veteran want to do? And when the veteran decides what they want to do, then as the advocate, as the caregiver, as the peer, we're there to walk with them through this process. And at the same time, we use the words boundaries and self-care. we're also taking care of ourselves, because it is emotionally draining.
Yes, it is.
When you have a doctor who is telling you one thing and the veteran's telling you something else, and then you want to think, am I crazy? What am I missing? And and if you're married to this man and you have to go home with him, and that brings a whole nother dynamic. So I applaud you as being that caregiver and that advocate.
Oh, wow, thank you.
So,
Appreciate
thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Cash. Thank you so much for having her on. And we
Well,
want
how
to
do people get in touch with you then?
So we can do what we're doing is advocating through Strategies for Hope. Okay. So you can reach me if you have any further questions, or you want to reach out to anyone who has come on or is going to come on. info@strategies4hope.
And Dr. Cash, send me your information, your website, so I can put it on our resource page as well. Okay. That'll be great. Thank you so much. And thank you as well, Lenora. You have some wonderful information.
Thank you.
Maybe one day you'll have your husband to come on and if he's up to it, and talk about his time in the military. You think he'd like that?
I sure would tell him, heck yeah.
All right. Let him know we've invited him on as a guest. Thank you so much. All right. We're moving right along now. We have Charles, you're going to introduce our good friend, dear heart, Ann Montague.
Yes. Here, where am I?
Oh, where are you? You're supposed to be you.
I'm supposed to be introducing.
That's why I'm like, yeah. All right, go ahead, Martha. Do your thing.
Okay. Ann Montague is a Rosie's daughter. Some of her first memories are about the home front war effort, saving Greece and taking it to the store to be used in the war effort. Their large victory garden, and her mother going to work in the mornings, feeling well, but coming back dizzy from inspecting lenses at what they called the war factory. Rosies are the surviving women who worked on the home front for the war effort during World War II. We encourage people to find them, learn what they did, and get Americans to work with them now. Although they are all above 90 years old, to do projects that leave a lasting record of their legacy. Each Rosie is different, and each story has the human touch. And when you put their stories together about what they did during the war, their legacy is more than one story. Thus, their legacy is to do today what they did in World War II, which is to pull together to do the highest quality work and to keep and use our freedom. Take it away, Ann.
You know what I want to say before Ann comes on is that she's invited some of the Rosies on the show. I mean, we're talking 99 and 100 years old, and those girls were just absolutely amazing. They can remember everything from the time they was in the military to the time they got out, what happened, what date. And here it is, one of how old was one lady? About 100, 101?
We had one who was 100 and
103.
100 years, 6 months old.
Yeah.
I mean,
she was from Washington.
Exciting. I mean, it just was amazing. So
yeah, they're amazing ladies. Of course, they're fading so fast. And
yeah, they are.
The story I'm going to tell you today is about a Rosie that's died. But let me introduce Bill. I'm sorry I'm losing my voice today, folks. But I want to introduce to you Captain Bill Bonnet. Bill, are you there? Can you hear us?
I'm here, Ann.
Okay. Bill Bonnet, since she was obviously U.S. Naval captain, but we found him somewhere around, I think it was about 2000, maybe 8, something like that. And we were at that time in our nonprofit organization trying to train veterans to transition from military life to civilian life by doing projects that needed to be done in America. And then we eventually led on the American Rosie movement, or the Rosie the Riveters. Bill has a very interesting history of not only being a naval captain and being on our board of directors for a number of years, but he also is very dedicated to training people to go into the military. and he did a lot of work in California. I think it was San Diego area. Am I not right, Bill?
I worked in Long Beach, California.
Long Beach, yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
Long Beach.
That's Charles's home front, Long Beach.
Is that right?
He has all type of awards and sits on several committees and commissioner and all that good stuff for the city of Long Beach.
Well, after
Long
retiring, go ahead, Bill, and tell them what you did after you retired.
I'm sorry, Ann, I didn't catch that.
Tell them what you did after you retired.
Okay, I went back to West Virginia and taught in a small college in West Virginia, worked with veterans there, and enjoyed it very much. And I like to continue working with veterans through the American Legion that I'm a member of. I see lots of need for help for veterans, and I would just say one thing, that maybe all the advocates that I've been listening to can find ways to help veterans by going to the organizations that they're members of. So thank you for that, and I'll listen now for the rest of it.
I'll also say that Bill taught math, and he also then went to the local prison and taught math in a local prison. Anyhow, the story that I'm going to be essentially telling you today, I'm so sorry I'm losing my voice, is about a Rosie who's deceased, but I chose to focus on her since we didn't have a Rosie tonight, because Bill knew her, and because she also was very much a part of my decision to keep working on this project against some uphill battles at different times. So sorry. But the story starts in 2009. It was March. So let me just say it as I hope to be able to say it on National Public Radio in a program that allows you to stand up and tell stories. They don't want you to, do an academic thing. They want you to tell a story. So do my best here today, even though I'm losing my voice. We all know that we need in this country outstanding leaders, that this is a troubled time, not only in the country, but in the world. But I want you to know that I don't really see all that many leaders as good as the ones I know. I know about 100 excellent leaders. They don't want credit. They're truthful. They walk the walk for America, and they get your job done. I know what you're thinking, that it's that's about as likely as bird doo-doo in a cuckoo clock. In other words, you don't believe it, but let me tell you, it's true. I'm going to introduce you to one of these leaders. Her name was Nancy. Before I start, I need to prepare you for something. These leaders are some of America's oldest women. They're called Rosie the Riveters. Picture this, it's March 29th, 2009. It's a Sunday afternoon. The phone rings. A faint, airy voice said to me that she'd seen an ad in the Charleston Gazette, local newspaper, which said, "Help, find a Rosie's." She'd worked in Cincinnati, Ohio, inspecting airplane engine parts. So she agreed to call. And as we talked, I really realized that we needed to interview her as soon as possible for a new grant we just gotten to do a documentary film, which was called "We Pulled Together Rosie the Riveters Then and Now." A few days later, she was clearly nervous as her film crew pulled up to the driveway. She kept saying, "But my story is not a big deal. You don't need a camera," and all kinds of hoopla. As we started interviewing her, she immediately relaxed, and she told us about her job, the first day at work, where they scared the scared all the trainees by saying to them, or by showing them an engine on the other side of a glass window that shook the whole building as they turned it on. And then they said afterwards to the trainees, now you're going to be inspecting small engine parts. And if this engine has one small part that does not do its job, you are going to be killing our American boys. She talked about working without seeing daylight from November through March. She talked about a spy that they had found who was inspecting or passing flawed engine parts. So she relaxed, and we totally love this lady, who will always be one of my favorite Rosies, now that I've interviewed almost 200. As we left Nancy's home, we told her we bought a mannequin, and she immediately jumped into the work we were doing and said, I want to find the shoes for it. So I knew then that Nancy was going to be part of this project as long as possible. After a few days, she called with new kinds of memories very frequently, and then we put on our board of directors. A year later, in April 2010, Rosie's were planning to design a park. They rejected the spot that the park committee chose near the toilet. So we scheduled a meeting with the city officials. The point person for the city, Dick, followed the Rosies to the place that they had chosen at the end of the park near electricity for campers. And he said, no, you cannot have this space. It belongs to the city. To the state. Nancy kept saying, Dick, I'd like to talk with you. And he kept ignoring her. Finally, I said to him, you've got to go over to Nancy. Don't tell her anymore to come to you. Please go over and see what she wants. She had an old-fashioned pocketbook with a glass clasp. She opened the pocketbook and she handed him an official-looking piece of paper. Little did I know myself that it was a deed that showed that the city did own the land, and that these Rosies could have this particular piece of land on the beautiful Canal River, just as they wanted it. When she gave it to him, she said, are you going to put us through a lot of red tape? We don't have time for that. Buddy and Dot and Agnes and Maxine and Garnet and I all closed in on him. He nervously cleared his throat and saw that we meant business. Some of the Rosies had their hands on their hips and they were looking straight at them. And finally, he said, Nancy, why don't you stand where you think the first tree should be? And that was the beginning of the first Rosie the Riveter Park that has, so far, the only Rosie the Riveter Park in America that was designed by the Rosies themselves.
Wow.
A few days later, Nancy called me and said in her breathy voice, Anne, we need a substitute for BS. I couldn't think who BS was, and I kept saying Brian and Bill and Bob. I said, I don't know who you're talking about. She said, BS. And I finally realized she meant, don't let anybody give us a load of stuff when they have promised. They need to fulfill a promise. So a few days later, we came up with about 20 different words that we said we would say to leaders who were not fulfilling their promise, but we never had nerve to actually say this to any leader. So some of those were Elmer's poo or it's howdy doody time. All the time that we knew that we didn't have the nerve to do that, we also knew that we had to somehow stop people from making promises that we built our work around when our time was so short. So finally, I called Nancy one day and I said, you know, Nancy, I remember reading something when I lived in Colorado. It was a chapter on what to do when people are not fulfilling their promises. And it started out that to say, and it suggested that you say, that's as likely as bird doo-doo in a cuckoo clock. And that time on, she rolled her eyes and would say to me when somebody was not fulfilling their promise or we didn't believe their promise, cuckoo, cuckoo. 3 months later, July 5th, 2010, we planted a tree where Nancy wanted it. It's beautiful and it's still flourishing. It's a white or pink dogwood tree. Flash forward a year to 2012, the park was coming along well, but Buddy Curnood, another Rosie, called me and told me that Nancy was in the hospital. I was one of the few people she let in to visit her. And 3 days later, Buddy called me and said Nancy's obituary was in the paper this morning. I could hardly believe it. Nobody had told us that she'd even died, and we found that she'd already been cremated. We were in shock, and Rosie's had to say goodbye. They didn't know how to do it or what to do. So we decided to hold a memorial service at the tree. I was to preach a sermon, something I'd never done before. And the day before, as I woke up from a nap, I realized that the song, "Show Me That River, Take Me Across, Wash My Troubles Away," was what we should do at her memorial service. At the service, there were about 9 Rosies. The wind was blowing really hard, and we did sing the song together. But instead of using the real words, we sang, "Show Nancy that river, take her across, wash all her troubles away." The Rosies released their balloons. They went straight up, and then they went all the way across the Canal River, a pretty wide river. The park opened on Memorial Day 2012, 7 weeks later. And by the way, Bill was there that day. I remember saying to the crowd, you know, we say we live in the age of communications, but what are we communicating about if we don't ask those who contributed most to our freedom? Just what did you do? And how do you want your work for freedom to be remembered? Flash forward to today. We've done huge amounts of work. We've done 18 different projects. We've been honored by 4 different allied nations. Bill, by the way, was at one of those. And now we're launching a new type of social movement called the American Rosie Movement. The American Rosie Movement is to pull together to do highest quality work, to do it in a spirit of cooperation, because if we don't, we are not using our freedom wisely. As people across America and other nations celebrate our Rosies by finding and working with them, we often quote Nancy, who said back in 2010, "We pulled together then. We can do it again. It's our only hope." We encourage people across America to find Rosies and to do projects for Rosies that leave a lasting history of who they really are. But we've never had the time with Nancy to say, when somebody doesn't do what they promise, cuckoo, cuckoo, cuckoo. So what we're asking America to do now is don't let any leader or any person in power who is stopping us or slowing us get by with stopping or slowing us. Just simply say to them, cuckoo, cuckoo, cuckoo.
Okay.
So Bill, you'd never heard that, right? Is Bill laughing? So
well,
Bill,
we want to thank you so much for that. That was so touching. We do.
I'd like Bill just to take 2 minutes and tell anything you want to tell about any of the Rosies that you remember or the work, because you were so instrumental. He was on our board for about, I think, 7 years.
Well, and all I can say is that when you meet a Rosie, you meet a real person, and they have experiences that are very important to America, and I think veterans today are very much like Rosie's in that they bring their experience back into the community and have a lot to offer. And I would hope that we can connect with them and have them help us in the years ahead. So that's what I see. Thank
Very
you.
good. Very good.
We're honored to have the Rosies movement on our show every other week, and we want to do our part to help find some of the Rosies, and because their contribution is historical, and we want to make sure that they get the true recognition that they deserve. And we thank you, Ann, because you're so dedicated. You work night and day. You and I are up.
I do.
5 o'clock in the morning talking to each other.
We're 2 peas in a pod. There's
Yes,
no
we
doubt
are.
about it.
Yes, we are. I really want to thank you. We're very honored.
And we want to thank Bill for being part of that whole movement of being in all those different places.
Bill he was just instrumental. There were times when I would just call him and be so frustrated, and he never was one to much be in crowds, but he showed up at different times. Quietly, he was there, and it helped me so much. When the British came and thanked American Rosies for the first time, it was at a historically Black college here in my community. And I didn't even know Bill was coming. And I was pretty nervous. It was standing room only and standing ovations and all that. We had 18 Rosies that day from numerous states. And I looked back and saw Bill. It helped me get through,
That's so wonderful.
a different kind of, I'm not an entertainer.
Well, Bill, we want to thank you so much for your involvement and coming on the show and honoring us with your presence. And we want to welcome you back at any time so you can share some of your experiences also with the Rosies. Okay?
Well, thank you for that. I look forward to it.
Thank you so much.
I just want to ask you before you go, what was your Long Beach connection? Bill?
Well, I'm sorry, sir. What was that?
I said, what was your Long Beach connection?
Long Beach was Wilson High School.
Okay.
Long Beach, California. I was a ROTC instructor there.
And what year was that?
That was between 1993 and 2005.
Okay.
Wow, that was great. Long time. Okay, well, thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
It's on you, Charles.
All right. Now,
Winding down.
let's go to hot news number 1.
Hot news number 1.
This involves the legendary Betty White, who just died 2 days ago. I bet you didn't know she was in the military, did you? Just a month before her 20th birthday, suddenly the nation found itself at war, and Betty put her career on pause and joined the war effort. No, not by storming Omaha Beach or D-Day or single-handedly charging a machine gun nest on Okinawa. World War II brought the citizens of the United States together like few things in history has ever done. Those who weren't overseas fighting were part of the war effort here at home. Many women entered the workforce, like the Rosies, of course. At the same time, everyone in the country tightened their belts. Purchases were limited. Most materials and goods were shifted to help drive the Allied forces to victory. No one escaped the impact of the war. Betty White was no exception. When it was time to step up and help her country, Betty signed up, got a uniform, and went to work for Uncle Sam. Now hold on, before I start reading more, I'm going to pull up some pictures that you guys can check of her. You know, Betty White is, you know,
We
she is,
love Betty.
she was an icon. You know, Betty was the bomb. You know, put it that way. Let me share some pictures with you. Now here I have pictures of Betty White. You know, some of these were in her younger days, and
Can't see them. They too teeny.
too teeny.
Yeah, they teeny weeny on this thing.
Can you see them now?
No.
No.
Did anyone else see? Are they real small?
I can't see them. They're like thumbnails, so I think you got to click on it.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm on them now, so I don't know what. I don't know
Yeah,
why.
you can't see them.
Okay, how about that one?
No.
No.
How about that one?
Nothing.
No. Okay,
No.
let me stop.
This how? Yeah.
All right, let me see if I can redo this, because Betty White was the, you know, I love her. I don't know why this is happening, but I'm gonna try it again.
Because she died recently, is that right, Charles?
2 days ago, on the 31st, New Year's Eve, 3 weeks before her 100th birthday.
Oh, really?
Can you see that picture? No?
No.
No.
Okay. All right. I don't know what's going on.
Man, you the
Can you go
engineer.
to share screen? Are you
Yeah,
sharing?
no, I'm hold on, let me try this again, because you know, I don't know why, but I'll see if these show up. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just gonna leave it right there. I'm gonna leave it there and continue to read about Betty. You know, she is an icon that okay, anyways, let me get back to her. No one escaped the impact of the war. Betty White was no exception. When it was time to step up and help her country, Betty signed up, got a uniform, and went to work for Uncle Sam. Betty White obviously wasn't storming the beaches of Normandy or lifting the flag at Iwo Jima. She did, however, have a pretty important role here in the States. In 1941, Betty joined the American Women's Voluntary Services. During her time with the American Women's Voluntary Services, Betty helped to boost morale and keep supplies moving. During the day, she drove trucks full of supplies to temporary military camps in the Hollywood Hills. And that picture's still up, right?
Yeah.
Okay. At night, she would attend dances held for soldiers who were about to be deployed, according to the Cleveland magazine. So, what exactly did the AWVS do during the war? As the Museum Textile Services blog tells it, this group of nattily uniformed women, some 325,000 strong at their peak, provided various types of support on the home front. Some of the members sold war bonds, others delivered messages, worked as aircraft spotters, aerial photographers, and fire wardens, and served in transportation services, driving vehicles that ranged from motorcycles to ambulances to dog sleds. Betty herself was a truck driver, shuttling supplies to soldiers barracked in the Hollywood Hills. Now, what a connection, huh? Shortly after the war ended, Betty White's career took off. Since then, she has been a major player in both television and film. Now, if you want to, you can go and check out the link for Betty White. It's www.thelist.com/19073/this-was-betty-white-job-during-world War.
Hey, nobody let's go to Betty White.
Betty White, just look up Betty White,
Yeah, right.
Wikipedia. You know, Betty was, you know, she was
We
an
love
icon.
Betty.
Yes, yeah, you know, she was funny, and she was, I mean, you know, she was a character. You know, her presence was known when she was there, and
That's right.
and she left a legacy that will always be remembered.
That's for sure. Thank you so much for that.
Okay, now let's go to Hot news number 2. All right. This is about veterans. Not as exciting as Betty, but it's good. So, some veterans now automatically qualify for a CDL. That's a commercial driver's license. Me being in the trucking business myself, I don't drive, but I can get this. Veterans can now more easily transition from the front lines abroad to the front lines of domestic economy. Commercial driver's licenses, known as CDLs, are one of the most sought after certifications by employers in the country. They are required to operate large or heavy equipment, anything from front loaders to school buses and even semi-trucks. To get one, an applicant must go through a background check and register with the Federal Transportation Security Administration, pass at least one knowledge test, some up to 70 questions long, and complete a skills test. The process is time-consuming and potentially expensive. The requirements could not be waived in the past, regardless of military experience, but that is now changing. Both Representative Greg Markkanen, a Republican, and Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson, a Democrat, have praised the enactment of Public Act 148 in recent weeks. Veterans can prove that they have a background in heavy equipment operation. Veterans who can prove that they have a background in heavy equipment operation are now able to waive taking the knowledge test entirely. A plan from State Representative Greg Markkanen help veterans use acquired skills to excel professionally has been signed into law by the government. House Bill 4787, now Public Act 148 of 2021, waives a knowledge test for a person with military experience who is applying for a commercial driver's license in Michigan. CDL applicants must take a skills and knowledge test, and Michigan currently provides a skill test waiver for those who have at least 2 years of experience operating heavy-duty vehicles, military vehicles. Since the state did not previously waive the knowledge portion, it was unable to access a federal program. 14 other states participate in allowing for qualified drivers to easily obtain CDLs. This new law offers practicality, recognizes the experience for those individuals who have, and allows experience these individuals have, and allows Michigan to be competitive for workers, said Markkanen. This is going to save our military members, including ones in the UP, time and hassle when they choose to enter this vital industry. I don't know what the UP is, but anyways. According to the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, 40,000 service members and veterans have taken advantage of this program across the country. That's great to know. Those who serve in our armed forces undergo extensive training to fulfill their duties and often receive certifications specific to their services, including commercial driver's licenses. It is time for the law to be changed to allow license they have earned during active duty to serve them in civilian life as well. Supporting our veterans continues to be one of my top priorities, and I'm grateful to see House Bill 4787 is on its way to the governor. I look forward to implementing the necessary changes within our department to ensure military veterans who have successfully earned the equivalent of a CDL do not have to repeat the process. Now let me tell you about my business with driving trucks. Well, I grew up in Arkansas. I lived on a farm, so I drew trucks. I started driving at the age of 9. Okay, so I was driving trucks, tractors, all of those big equipment. When I was in the military, I was actually in when I went to the reserves after I coming back home. My reserve center was actually right here in Long Beach. I wasn't living in Long Beach then, but it was right here in Long Beach, and we went down to San Diego for our weekend training, and I actually drove one of those trucks. Didn't have a commercial driver's license. They just like, hey, can you drive? I can drive. I drove a stick and I did all that stuff, and I actually drove one of those trucks down to San Diego at the age of 18 or 19 or whatever I was, without a license. No, it's just like things back then were a little bit different when you were in the military, so it was kind of semi-illegal, but who was going to question the military? But Now I got into the trucking business a year ago, and I don't drive actually myself, but I have a truck, and I'm about to expand. Here's what I know about truck drivers. There are a lot of ships sitting outside a port, waiting to unload their cargo, and some of the reasons I know is part of the cargo companies, but a lot of those reasons are we're short of truck drivers, and it's sad to say that part of the problem, and with this I know directly, is a lot of truck drivers can't pass the drug test. You know, because nowadays they're really tightening up the regulations. You have to pass a drug test. The hand logs that you used to be able to do right in their mileage and all, it's all gone to tablets now, and so it's so the old school drivers have to get with the program and learn how to use tablets, because those tablets go in the truck and they trace the mileage for those trucks doing so. It's harder to cheat as the drivers used to do. So, but this thing about the 4787 allowing the veterans who have a license, that's great, and I'm sure part of the knowledge, but they still have to pass the drug test, which I'm sure if they're serious about their work, they will do. Anyone that's serious about anything will do whatever it takes to get through it. Just like if you go to school, you can't party every weekend and expect to, study hard and study straight. So that's it about the hot news.
That's great. Great information. Thanks, Charles. Okay, it's on you, Mark. Winding down now.
Okay. I would like to remind our listeners about our amazing advertisement rates. We have 20 and 30-second advertisement slots available. If anyone is interested, please email info@operationconfidence.org for more information, or visit Operation Confidence's website at www.operationconfidence.org, our resource page, for more amazing resources. Also, check out our online store on our website. All items sold, such as our t-shirts and sportswear, 100% goes directly to Operation Confidence's Housing Workforce Development Building Fund. I would also like to inform our viewers and radio listeners about Amazon Smile. Please go to Amazon Smile and type in Operation Confidence in the Choose Your Organization donation box. Amazon will make a small donation to Operation Confidence. To our viewers, we would like to inform you about Operation Confidence's Positive Redirection Team, a group of male and female veterans who are mentors that have overcome similar situations and challenges, transitioning back into mainstream society. To be connected or to become a member, email us at info@operationconfidence.org. And we are also looking to inform our listeners about.
Somebody's phone is ringing. Okay.
We would also like to inform our listeners about Operation Confidence's Combat Boots and Lace Women Veterans Mentoring Program and Support Group. We are looking for more women veterans. We heard from a dynamic group today. Hopefully they might be interested to join our efforts to provide the desperate support services that we have continued to hear women veterans need. And so we're looking to incorporate ways to connect, as we heard one of our guests today talk about the free services that are in the community, even that the VA offers, right? Meditation, acupuncture, Reiki. There's all kinds of free programs, and we want to be able to help bridge the gap between those female veterans that are in need and also the programs that are available and that are out there providing these free services, and really help connect them to the veterans that are in need. So anyone who's interested, also email info@operationconfidence.org, or you can email me, Martha@operationconfidence.org.
Great, thank you. Okay, well, we're winding down, closing our show out today. I want to thank our guests for coming on and sharing some amazing information. And I always know we want you back.
Before
And
you
it's
go on, Connie, may I show something just so
yeah,
just so people can know where the advancement of the disabilities and truck driving is going.
sure,
I
please.
got this video that let's see. Hope I can do this because
You're
everything's
the
going.
engineer. You're supposed to be.
And I'm just I'm American Indian, part American Indian. The near I don't know part. So
All
okay.
right. See what you can do.
Let's see. Can you see that?
Yeah, we see it. Let's see if it's
Okay.
gonna move.
It's gonna move. There you
There
go.
we go.
I've
Isn't that
seen
amazing?
videos before. These truck drivers in wheelchairs. Yeah, it's it's happening.
Yeah. Wheelchair lift.
That's right.
I
Look
mean,
at
actually,
it.
it's lifting him up in the thing.
Mm-hmm. And then he moves his wheels over, and then he's like,
Right.
getting in a car.
That's right. Same. hmm Great. Nothing can stop him.
That's
Just
it.
do it a
That's
little
right.
different. There you go.
Do
I
your
love
thing,
it.
Holmes. That's right.
It's beautiful, Charles. Thank you.
Wasn't that amazing? All right. So we want to say goodbye. We want to always let our listeners and viewers know that our goal for the show is to raise awareness about Operation Confidence's mission, which is to provide stable housing with a wide range of supportive services, including employment opportunities for our veterans, especially those who are disabled and have experienced homelessness. So to get involved with our grassroots efforts, please send us an email at info@operationconfidence.org or go to our website at www.operationconfidence.org. And we want to thank you so much for being on the show today, and for those out there in the listening land and viewing land for looking at our show. We're going to be back next week, always on a Sunday. And we're going to start closing down with our Rosie the Rivers video, our sponsor, Operation Confidence closing banner, and we're going to say goodbye. Oh, and once again, Happy New Year. This is going to be an amazing year for all.
It's going to be an excellent year.
Yes, it is.
Excellent day.
Excellent.
It will be.
Sure. Thank you so much. We'll close it out now, Charles.
Let's close it out.
Close it out.
Oh, and here's the.
I am Buddy Canute, a former Rosie the Riveter. I riveted P-40 pursuit planes during World War II. We did our part back then. Now, can you step up and help the Rosies pull America together again? Please call 304-776-4743. That is 304-776-4743.
Long Beach, PVA, California, chapter USA. The city by the waterfront, where the veterans work and play. Long Beach, PVA, California, chapter USA. The city by the waterfront, where the veterans work and play. For more information or to be a guest on our show, email info@operationconfidence.org.
Okay. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy
Thank
New
you, everyone.
Year.
Be safe.
That's right. Stay safe. Bye-bye.
Bye now.